Hello and welcome back to the She Lives Purposefully podcast. Today we are doing a Christian girl, Christian woman Q&A. I am here with my sister Kenz. Hi Kenz, how are you?
Hello, good, how are you?
So good. You guys, these Christian woman, Christian girl Q&As, I feel like I should nail down, like, is it girl or is it woman? I don't know. Anyway, they are some of your favorite episodes. And this week I put on my Instagram like a question box, just asking questions, like asking what you guys wanted answered. And y'all flooded it. So we have to split this question box into like multiple episodes, which I'm really excited about. I think they're really fun questions. They're good questions, even questions that we were saying like, oh, I would like somebody to answer that for me, but we're going to give it our best, biblical based go. And yeah, I'm really excited.
No, me too. I feel like I agree with what Megan said. Some of them are so fun and others are like, ooh, good thinking questions.
Yeah, 100%.
So excited.
Me too. Okay, I'm trying to think of like life recap things. My birthday's next week, which is really exciting. Like literally next Thursday. So the next episode will be like a kind of year in review, what God has done in my life episode. And I'm really excited about it because it's been a big year. I was pregnant. I gave birth. There was a lot of things going on. I feel like in my own heart, I've shared some of it before, but I'm excited to like kind of talk about what the Lord did, even just like miracles that I feel like he did in our lives. So I'm excited about that. What else? It's also my husband's 30th coming up. So I'm just like in the thick of trying to plan all the things birthdays.
Yeah, and there was also like another big thing for your 28th year, like your sister turned 22.
So big. Yeah, 22.
Sorry, I was going to throw that in earlier, but you kept going, so I was like,
No, it's the Taylor Swift 22. Ooh. I hope that sounded good.
I don't think it did, but it's okay.
Should we try it again? Actually, I'm too nervous to give it our best go. Like,
22.
That was good.
Nah.
I think it was. Okay, so I'm gonna list off some of these fun questions. Also, you guys, thank you so much for all of the excitement, the shared excitement that you had with the announcement of last week's episode. If you didn't hear it, go and check out last week's episode and just kind of a deeper dive into all the things. But She Lives Purposefully is now part of the That Sounds Fun network, which is really exciting. I talk more about all that entails in the episode of last week but I am super excited about it. It seriously is like a dream come true for me. So super stoked, and thank you just for sharing in all of the excitement on social media, text messages, emails, like through the podcast community, all the things. So yeah, super stoked about it. Okay, so let's dive into, I'm just gonna kind of list out the questions so you know what's coming in today's episode. Did we like that? Yeah, we did that last time. And then we'll just jump into the questions, which is fun. Okay, so number one, a couple people actually asked this question, so we wanted to kind of combine them and talk about this. So the theme of the question is making friends, struggling to make friends in your 20s, and also like advice on how to make friends at church. So that's something we're going to be answering. The other one is, do you consider yourself more type A or type B? Also, advice on Christian women reading spicy books. And then also how to transition from high school to university smoothly. And somebody is looking to leave their job at a church, but they don't want to disappoint anyone. And from two people pleasers, we really resonate with that.
We do. I know. I read the question. I was like, people pleaser right here.
People pleaser. Should we start with that one?
Sure.
Let's do it. Let's mix it up. Okay, so yes, this person, again, looking to leave my job at the church, but don't want to disappoint anyone. So, looking just kind of for advice on what to do there, maybe even just encouragement in that area. Do you have any thoughts? Do you want me to go first?
Can I see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like we had talked about, I feel like it definitely is a big, it seems like, like a people pleaser, which so real. Like, I feel like I'm the same in a lot of things. Um, but I honestly think I feel like I don't know like why you're leaving it or what for, but I feel like if you feel the Lord, one, has even called you away from that job or to a different job or there's something else opening up, I think that is just such a big opportunity for you. Um, and I feel like if you know, even if you don't, but if you do know or feel that the Lord is calling you to that, then there shouldn't be any of that feeling that's just holding you back of like not wanting to disappoint people, which I totally get. But I think if you feel like the Lord is calling you to this, then follow it completely. And if it isn't something like that, and if it's something where you just want to leave and you have another job set up or you want to go to a different job, I think that's totally okay too. We're not made to please other people, but to please the Lord. So I think I will say if you don't feel the Lord is calling you to this, but you just are wanting to leave, I think if you do it in a way that's pleasing to the Lord, then I think you have every right to do that. And I hope that people won't make you feel bad about leaving.
Yeah.
But if they do, I really think to just like keep praying on it, because then you'll just have that affirmation from the Lord, even if there are people who are telling you differently.
Yeah, two things were sticking out to me when you were talking. One is like, it just, or combined, it's like fear versus confidence. And so I feel like a lot of times this idea of like, okay, I don't want people to be disappointed or, doing anything like that. If it comes from the heart of people pleasing, I feel like at its core, people pleasing is kind of fear, like fear of people and fear of like opinions and different things like that. And so I would say it kind of comes down to like, all right, am I fearing what people want versus like, am I going to be confident in what I feel like the Lord has either called me to or given me the okay to do? Like you were saying, like maybe it's something you feel like the Lord is calling me, like I know it, to step out of this position. Or maybe you're just in a spot where you're like, I saw this new job and I want to try this out instead. And, the Lord kind of opened this door and I think I want to walk through it. Or maybe like, I just want to stay home. Like, I don't know the position you're in. Maybe you're a stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home like wife, or maybe you want to go back to school, like whatever that looks like for you. And you feel like the Lord has opened a door to do that. I think just owning like, okay, like the Lord is by my side and like I can walk confidently in this. And so if people give you a hard time about it, you're like, okay, but I still have the confidence that the Lord has given me in this role, in this position, in this move outside of my role in this church. I think it can be hard. I think this is true with a lot of like churches and nonprofits at large, where there is kind of this expectation of like, because you're serving, maybe like people expect you to be there longer, or, there's kind of almost this guilt in leaving a certain position, but that shouldn't be the case, especially in a church. So, you can walk confidently in what you feel like the Lord has called you to do. And I was just thinking about our own church, and there have been like quite a few people I feel like who have recently left for different reasons. One just wanted to become a stay-at-home mom. Another one is getting married, like just different people who have left like office positions. And like, it can be hard maybe, but I know that there wasn't any bad blood in that situation. And I can say like, even if there would have been, then it's just like, okay, well, that's on the other party for like how they're handling it. That's between them and the Lord. Like, that's not between you and the Lord. And I think, like you said too, like if you are leaving in a way that honors the Lord, like you can walk out confidently, because you know that you did it well. Yeah.
And I will say one thing, because like we understand like the people pleasing tendencies. I think if it is even going to be helpful, I would say to pray over somebody coming in and fulfilling that position that you're leaving. Like, even just because I know like if you do leave, the Lord will work in the church and help the church in whatever
Yeah.
way. So I feel like even just praying over that can be even just like helpful for your heart too, and just a cool way to see how the Lord moves. So I would just encourage you to do that.
Yeah, I just was actually thinking too. I used to work at a nonprofit, so it wasn't a church, it was a Christian nonprofit. And when I left, I remember just feeling very up in the air. You know, it was kind of a tricky situation, like, what do I do? And really feeling like the Lord was calling me to take this step. And I remember going to my boss at the time and being so nervous, like just imagining that I was just gonna like vomit basically like all these words out. I was so nervous. And my boss was awesome. Total, like literally the best, but it just was still nerve-wracking. And I totally resonate with what you're feeling. Like I felt like I don't want to disappoint this person. I don't want them to be mad at me, you know? And over the time that I was deciding whether or not I should leave, the Lord really kept speaking to me through my own time with him, through other people, kind of this idea of stepping out in faith and in using those words. And I remember when I actually told my boss, he was so supportive of the decision that he also felt like he knew that I needed to make, and used those words like that the Lord, you know, like you're stepping out in faith. He used that. And it just was such a confirmation from the Lord, one, that he was so agreeable with this decision with me. And even though like it was hard and there was this huge, you know, you're helping with the transition and different things like that, he was supportive of me. And two, like in the way that that conversation went, it was such a confirmation that this is what the Lord had for me. So I think even pray over that conversation with the person that you're going to tell, like, you know, that it would be really peaceable, and even like an affirmation that the Lord would give you. Yeah.
Love it.
Cool. Cool. Okay. Next question. Let's see. Which one should we do? I wish I had like a spinning wheel. You know what I mean?
You should get that.
We should, and like put it on YouTube, like on top, and like chooses like,
I'm like,
which
no,
one.
we get like a real one.
Yeah. We should. Okay. Let's see. Do you consider yourself more type A or type B?
Megan?
I thought for the longest time that I was type B. And I think I used to be.
I think you were type B.
I think I was, but I think I held on proudly to my type B assumption, like I thinking that I was that way for way longer than I actually was type B. I think I became type A pretty strongly. But I will say I'm like a shy type A. I think there's this idea of like type A being like taking the lead,
taking
charging,
charge.
and I'm not that way, but like in my heart I am. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I'm type A. I feel like so far now removed from type B. So many things associated with type B, like I just can't anymore. Like I can't, the laid back, like chill vibes, like I just can't get behind it really.
I will say, I feel like you're not that shy about it. With like family though.
Really?
But
I really thought I was like,
I just feel like we've talked about it before, and like maybe with other people though.
that's so funny. Do you have a like non-scathing example?
No, I don't want to share an example. No.
That's so funny. Yeah, I guess I'm pretty type A.
Which isn't bad to be type A.
No. I think
all.
it's just funny because I really was very type B before, and I think I was really proud about it. So
Yeah.
it's like, it was, I think when we talked about it a couple years ago that I was type A, it was like an identity crisis for me. Not like crisis, but I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's a pretty big deal.
And I was like, you are type A.
Like 100%. That's funny too. I think this is new information to me that I'm not shy about it. At least with family.
Yeah, I mean,
Which not that you should. I'm not saying it would be bad to not be shy. Just I think I thought I was like very subtle.
You're good at. I feel like I will say like a good amount of our family is type A also. Like some of our extended family, and I just feel like maybe in that area, your type A can be like shyer, if that makes sense.
With other type A people.
Yeah. But like with me, for instance, like I feel like you're more, which makes sense also, like you're comfortable with me.
Yeah. I do think, would you say you're more type B?
I would. Would you?
I think
Well, I have it
I think
pulled
you're
up.
like a closeted type A.
I think okay, so I've just been a lot more like stressed recently.
Yeah.
And I think that could be my type A tendency.
Can
but
you read what you have pulled up? Yeah.
Okay. Type A refers. Oh, wait. Actually, sorry. Okay. Type A, highly motivated, focused on achieving goals, easily stressed, may exhibit hostility under pressure. Maybe I am type A. Type B, more relaxed, adaptable, less concerned with deadlines, enjoys spontaneity. Oof. Okay.
I think I'm a mix.
I.
You said hard no.
I think you're type A, and that's okay. I
Yeah.
think I feel like I can be a lot more relaxed when it comes to certain things, but I do think I am easily stressed, and I do think I exhibit hostility under pressure.
I think you're a mix.
Yeah, but I love spontaneity,
Mm-hmm.
and I am not very concerned with deadlines.
That was the thing I was thinking is type B for you.
Like, not concerned with time deadlines, school deadlines.
I was thinking that.
Me handing an assignment a week late. I'm like, yay!
I think, yeah, I feel like you're a good mix where I think I'm definitely more type A.
Like, I tell Megan, I'm like, I'll be there by 9 a.m. And it's like 9:30. I'm like, on my way.
Where I feel like if I am late, I am writhing. Like I'm like it makes me so upset to be late.
Right. Sometimes I get to church. It's like 15 minutes after it started. And I'm like strolling in.
Yeah, I feel like showing up late to church doesn't bother me as much.
Okay.
Maybe it's in this new era too of like.
Oh yeah, parent.
But yeah.
I feel
Okay.
like I just show up to things
Late.
later than usual.
I think the thing that really stuck out to me for myself is the hostility,
No, me too.
which is totally me. Like wow. I feel like it's like things that I want to change though about myself. Like I wish that I was more like
Right, I'm
spontaneous, relaxed, and I think I used to be, but
I'm like, is it okay to be type A?
I know, well not the hostility part, I guess.
But like the goals, like amazing,
Right.
motivated.
I think the Lord uses like both type A and B, and I think
Beautiful.
they both have like their pros and their cons for sure.
It's giving like Mary and Martha.
I was thinking that too. Yeah. It is giving Mary and Martha. And I guess I've always loved Mary, but I think I'm definitely more.
Well, obviously, I feel like everybody loves Mary in that scene because it's
Right.
what everybody aspires to be for that with Jesus.
Right, that's true.
But then you also see Martha, like, he does point out the fact she's like cleaning and like serving him in that way.
I think the thing is like I'm also not a Martha. Like I'm not, I feel like Miss Hostess to the mostest. Like
I think we're going really in depth into this actually.
okay.
But I think that it just showed her personality of
Yeah. No, I get that. I was just thinking one of my New Year's resolutions is actually to be like more like hosty. Just a fun pivot. Like
I love being hosty.
I want to just, and like more homemakey too,
Hosty.
like baking more and just fun stuff.
Speaking.
Baking. I know, I'm excited. So maybe I'll be a Martha. Yeah.
New goal is to be Martha in the Mary and Martha story.
No, but yeah. Interesting. So you're a mix.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm more type A.
I think maybe I'm turning, like, I'm being just like you. Like, I feel like I used to be so type B.
And in the transition.
I feel like I'm just in a transition page. Transition stage. And I just...
Turning the page.
Turning the page.
Yeah.
Like I'm not that spontaneous anymore. Like, I like my structure.
I was going to say you said you're spontaneous, but I
But I
don't know.
used to be really spontaneous. Like, even like a year ago.
I think I used to be really spontaneous too.
Right. Like, after like a 9:30 p.m. church, somebody invited me over for a sleepover. I'm down. I'll go grab my stuff.
Yeah. And now I'm like, did we plan it 3 weeks in advance?
No.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways.
Well, that's your answer. That's the answer. That was a fun.
So what are we? We don't know.
I think you're a mix. I think you still are a mix, and I think I'm type A.
Time.
Time. Okay. Let's do making friends. Struggle of making friends in your 20s, advice on how to make friends at church. Can I start with this one?
Yes.
Kids is gonna drink a little Starps. She got hard. Wrong answer. She's drinking water. Hydrated queen.
Just my throat.
Okay. I will say making friends in your 20s is really hard. So I will say that I think, very blessed in the fact that a lot of my friends I have been friends with for a long time. And I've not necessarily had to make new friends in my 20s. Like, I've stayed in the same place. A lot of my friends have also stayed at the same place, like location wise, same church. But I also am trying to make new friends in this era as well. And I also will say, I am coming from a place right now where I think I have been not the greatest at maintaining my friendships over the past year, just vulnerably. And I think my friends have really been awesome in like trying to maintain friendships with me, like checking in and all these things. I just think through pregnancy and postpartum, especially, it's just been harder for me to like get out there. That sounds like I'm dating, but like, get out there in a friendship sense. So all of that is where my advice, I guess, is coming from. If you are needing to make new friends in your 20s, I would say one is like really branch out, like be vulnerable and awkward and like the person that's like, hey, like, do you want to get coffee? Like, do you want to be friends? Like kind of thing. I think that's really important. I'm like working on that with like different people right now. And I would say like the best place to find those people are like either church or like smaller Bible studies or friends of friends too. Like I just was at a baby shower and like was talking to people that I might have not really talked to a lot. Like I'm friends with them, but like we're not like texting all the time and stuff. And so like wanting to then like be more intentional with those people and like text them or invite them to things, being more a part of our lives and kind of branching out and doing that. So I feel like those are kind of good places to do that. One, church, like smaller Bible studies and stuff, or like events that friends of friends are having. So if you do have like one friend and they're having something, like go to that and like branch out and then even though it feels vulnerable, like text those people afterwards, ask for people's number. I think sometimes it can feel like you're asking people out, like you're like, it's like dating or whatever, like, it's nerve-wracking and all that stuff, but like it's important to do. And somebody has got to do it. And I think that we all feel so flattered when somebody asks us like, oh, do you want to get coffee? That'd be so fun. But like be that person too. Because I do think also like the fact that multiple people ask this question or like in this realm is a lot of people are looking for more friends or for new friends. A lot of people are looking for community. Like you're not the only person who is. And so like take comfort in that too. Like somebody will probably be really glad that you reached out, And I always also go back to my friend Julia, who's been on the podcast before too. She came to young adults by like a small Bible study, not small, like a small group Bible study that we had years ago. She came by herself and just like walked in. And like that's how we became friends. Like she, was bold and she did that. And then she kept coming and then she came to small groups and then she went on retreats, like, kind of just growing in these friendships and stuff. And now, she's been in my wedding. Like we're super close, best friends. And it's because she decided to like branch out one day and be bold. And yeah, so.
And even with that, like with Julia, like she's even such a big asset in the church now. Like
totally.
Like it just knows so many people and has like been such a blessing in people's lives.
She's the best, yeah.
And yeah, I just feel like the Lord blesses when you step out of your comfort zone, especially in a good way.
Yeah.
And in a way that is like pleasing to the Lord. But were you done with?
Yeah. Well, I will say too, like it sounds silly, but pray about it. I think community is so important to God. Like our community is so important to God. The body of Christ and having that is so important. We need each other. We need each other so deeply. And so I think bringing that before the Lord is something that he wants to answer. And maybe that looks different for everybody, but like, I do think that he cares deeply about this for all of us. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if you bring it before the Lord, like he cares for that need specifically, and like it's not too small in his eyes. And I think what Megan said, like that is such a major thing in his eyes. Like he wants us to have community in him too, and I think it helps us grow in our faith. So I think like he would want to honor that for you. But I agree. I think just really stepping out, it's not fun to to take that first step, but I think once you're in it and if there's people around you who are welcoming and friendly, like it's going to be good and it's going to be a good opportunity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think get plugged in, start serving if you can, like if your church has those opportunities. But yeah, I agree. Just go to any like sound Bible study you can, just anything if your church isn't big, to try and find something else with like the young adults group.
Yeah, even if you're not finding a new core church, like finding
Right.
Bible studies from other solid churches,
Yeah.
like smaller ones to go to.
Yeah, no, I think it's great because then you can find friendships with other people in your 20s, or you can find people who are like older than you too, and
Yeah.
just to have those types of friendships also is really, really sweet.
I will say too, a couple different thoughts in my brain. One is like Instagram is a really great resource now. It is kind of like the new, people used to like, I don't know, gather in the main square or like, I don't know, just different things. Now, like I'm thinking back to like the 1600s, I don't know. It's a really great place. And I'm actually like texting with this girl now who we both went to the same Bible college, but like we really were not connected at all. And both happened to live in the same area, and she actually was selling something, like she like makes these goods and she was selling them, and I was like, oh, I actually want that, so I bought them from her. And she was like, would you want to like hang out? She's also a mom. And I was like, oh yeah. Why are you laughing? Makes goods.
Well, at first, and then I was trying to reposition my leg, but it hurt really bad.
Oh.
Okay.
No, but so she was like, do you want to hang out? And I was wanting to, but feeling kind of shy. So I was like, yes, of course I do. And then my second thought, so all that to say is like Instagram can be a great resource. Like we were DMing and then we were texting, just finding people in your area that maybe, again, like you wouldn't, for example, in our church, it's a mega church. So maybe they go to another service and you wouldn't have crossed paths with them, but like, that they go to that, like reaching out to them via Instagram. Being bold is so big. And then with that being said too, like I said, I feel like in the past year, I have been so bad at connecting with people, even though I desperately want to. And so from that girl's perspective, I would say like so many people have reached out to me several times, like, and we make plans and finally we're like setting these plans in stone. And I would say too, like, unless it's super maybe abundantly clear that somebody doesn't want to hang out, like reach out a couple times. Like some people are busy, life is busy, life is hard. Like, reach out a couple times. I know that I really appreciate it and I'm so thankful. So yeah.
Love it.
Cool. Okay. Let's see. We have 2 more questions here that we're going to be answering. How to transition from high school to university smoothly. I want to talk about this more so from a spiritual perspective. Was that your first thought in hearing the question or no? No. Okay, so maybe we'll talk about it from both perspectives, like practical and spiritual.
Love it.
Spiritual is the first thing that came to my head, so I'm going to talk about it from a spiritual question. I don't know if you are moving away, if you are commuting. Regardless, I think making sure that you are plugged in to some sort of Christian community, that you can find Christian friends, I think is absolutely vital in transitioning from like high school to universities, because I'm imagining maybe like if you're a Christian and you're in high school, like you're at home, you're plugged into a church, ideally. And now you're going to this new place where things might be changing up a little bit. Maybe you're dorming, maybe you're moving away and you need to find a new church, all of that. Plug in. Find the local like church groups that are there, or the university like has, different clubs and things like that are Christian clubs that are there. Make sure that you're plugged in, because again, like we need the body of Christ. We need people to run the race that is set before us well. And so that's just absolutely vital. That would be like my top piece of advice for you. That would be my top piece of advice, honestly. Because too, when temptations arise or things are hard or whatever happens, like if you have people that can hold you accountable and be there for you, or like alternative things, there's a party Friday night, but like, oh, the Christian group is doing this, like, and you can go to that, or your Christian friends are doing this instead. Like, it's just so helpful to have Christian friends and Christian community. I think Christian community for me not only was helpful for like keeping me in the Lord during college, but it helped make my college experience so amazing. And I've talked about it on the podcast before, but like I commuted, so I think it's a much different experience than a lot of people. But there is, no matter what you're doing, like opportunity for you to walk away from the Lord. I know so many people who commuted also and like totally walked away from the Lord. It's all, I think a huge part of it is the people that you choose to be in community with. And I think that my college experience, actually, I grew so much in the Lord because of the people that I was surrounding myself with. So that would be like a big piece of advice that I have. And then practically too, I think it helps also because it's like, these are people that are going to help you in the thick of it as you're like transitioning workload and what that looks like too. And so taking advice from our last question of like how to make new friends and applying it here, I think is really important, especially good Christian friends. Do you have any thoughts on that or
No. No, I agree. I think practically kind of going off what you said, I think if, you're nervous about the transition, asking people who have been through the transition is super helpful too, because then you get good, tips and even just thoughts on how to maneuver like first year, which is pretty hard, like it is.
Yeah.
And I think you're going from something that so well, like high school, like whether or not, like if it's just been like the 4 years of high school where you're at, like it's been 4 years, like you're pretty good with it, like it. So it is such a difficult transition, but I think just like to take it slow, not to be so stressed out with all the different changes, because like the stressors will come up, but I think just to stay calm in it, like everything in the moment isn't as big as what it seems, in a good way. Like it really, all the big stresses of like the change and everything, like it is something so big, but not enough to be like so stressed and like anxious over. Like the Lord will help you through it and it'll pass and it'll be good. And I think also going off, what were you gonna say something?
I have a couple thoughts, but like if you have a thought, I don't want to.
Keep it in mind though.
Okay.
I want to hear it.
I'm gonna write it down.
I think going off of what Megan said, spiritually, I feel like I totally agree. My first year I went to Bible college, and it was so good because obviously like I had the Christian community around me and like I grew so much, even in that, and it was such a good experience. But I will say like the first semester and even like the first month of the second semester, I so slacked on like finding a church. And like I was like, oh, like I'll watch my home church. And then there was like a lot of Sundays where I didn't even watch and I would just like sleep through different things. And I just feel like it was really, like I remember thinking in my mind, like it's okay I have a Christian community in my Bible college. But like I think there's just something so sweet about having like a church family. And like thankfully the last couple months, like I found a really good one and it was solid, and like I had friends from the church there too that didn't go to Bible college. And I feel like just to find a really good church or stay plugged into the church that you're at if you're commuting, I think that it's really important, and it'll be so helpful spiritually because you can talk to older people in the faith too if there's anything you're struggling with in your first year of college, whether it be like spiritually or mentally or anything, stress or anything like that. I think it's just really beneficial to just have that body around you.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Some of the thoughts that I was thinking too is one, I think there's this fear of like that first semester, is it going to be awkward? Like all these different things. I think almost embracing like there is going to be a little bit of an awkward transition and like knowing that that's okay. However, like big or small, like it's going to be a hard, like not hard transition, but it's going to be different. Like I know for me, again, so comfortable, like you said, those 4 years in high school. I went to Bible college my first semester and it was awesome, like awesome semester. But there was definitely like, some days where I'm like, okay, like who am I hanging out with right now? Different things like that where it kind of just feels like a question mark and it's a little awkward and you're trying to make new friends and different things like that. And it was great. Like none of it was bad from that perspective, but it can be a little bit hard. So I think too, just like knowing like it's okay if things are a little awkward. Like you can embrace the awkward, And two, like I want to go back to just like the friends aspect. I feel like I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have like good Christian friends during this time. Like I said, my first semester, if it's hopeful at all, was like so awesome. My first year was awesome. Then I transitioned to a community college when I came back home. Awesome first semester too. I really I had good Christian friends. And then I also just had this perspective of like, okay, I want to be a light and I want to make good friends. So I just like did that and it was really great. And then I transitioned to a university, and that first week was literally one of the worst weeks ever, 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 ever. I walked into class and there was apparently this quiz that everybody knew about that like I didn't know about, totally failed like the first quiz on the first day. And then like, I forget, there was so many bad things that happened, but one of those things was that I was walking down like this huge massive stairwell, like huge widthwise and longwise, and it had just rained. And I was walking down the stairs and I fell down the stairs. So awful. Like it just was like one thing after the other. I remember like during that week and I just was so discouraged. I remember because too at Bible college and during the community college, I had friends like not only that I made during that time, but that I knew who were with me. Like from high school, I had a friend who was with me in both those places. So I was like, okay, great. Now at this university, I did too, but it was like such a bigger university, such a bigger experience. So it was kind of like, oh, like I just don't know. And I can tell you like having friends, even when it's like you go back home or you go to church or, at university, was so crucial for me, like not throwing in the towel that first week. It was such a bad first week. I hated that week for so much. So all around, it was just a really rough week, but friends literally got me through that week, like honestly, and good Christian friends. So I feel like that's just vital too. And then the last thing that I will say is this, and yeah, college for me is where She Lives Purposefully actually began. The idea originated at college, at She Lives Purposefully. At college, and it was based in this kind of idea of like so many people in college they just do the status quo and they party and then they get wasted and they're sleeping with whoever and then they wake up the next day and they're in school and it's just kind of this like day in day out doing the status quo of what everybody else is doing. And I just want to challenge you to not only feel like, oh, I need to be running from temptation. I don't want to like lose ground in my walk with the Lord, but take this time to actually like run in the other direction and see it as like an opportunity to grow in your faith with the Lord, but also like minister to as many people as possible. I feel like I really tried to look at that in my own life, and the Lord opened up so many doors, so many opportunities for me to like make friends with people and just like be an encouragement to them, hopefully be a light to them, and also just like share Jesus with people. Start She Lives Purposefully, just so many different things where I felt like, lead Bible studies where the Lord swung open doors for me to run the race that was set before me, not just, which was so important, but like in my own personal walk with him, but like how that was laid out and like the fruit that came from that too. So yeah, I would encourage you, like, look at this time not just as a time of like, everybody says it's really hard to like keep your walk with the Lord in college, like I want to, not fall into sin, but rather like run in the opposite direction and like see how much can I do for the Lord, how much can I grow for the Lord, during this really cool, unique time. It really is an awesome time. And so, it's a unique space for you to be in to like grow mightily and like be such a fruit bearing person. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love it. Love that.
Cool. Okay. Last question is our spiciest question, literally. And I saved it for last on purpose because it's the spiciest one. Do you have advice on Christian women reading spicy books? Do you want to go first? Yeah. If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify.
Oh, right. I forgot that not everybody watches the videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think big no. I think it's not smart at all. Not pleasing to the Lord at all. Even if it was something that's like you don't know if it's pleasing to the Lord, or not, you don't know if it's pleasing to the Lord, but it's just something that might not be even, like, it doesn't even matter. I think then step on the opposite side of the line where you want to be pleasing to the Lord. But this isn't that. I think it's something where there's just like a complete, it's not at all pleasing or honoring to the Lord.
Yeah.
And I think it's basically like, I don't know if I can say this, but like I think it's just like porn on page. So a lot of people say it's different because you're not watching anything, but I think people who are reading are old enough to be imaginative. So I think that that's a big deal. And I'll say also there was like, I was talking with Meg about it. There was this book that I was so excited to read. I was so excited to read it because it's such good reviews, and like I heard the writing was great, and I love when a book has just good writing. And so I was so excited, and I got it for my birthday, and I started reading, and then like not even like maybe the first chapter there was like a little something, and I was like, oh, weird, okay, like skip over it. And then like I just, what was it? Like I just kept reading, and I was just like, ugh, like I kept skipping over things, and I was like getting so frustrated. And then I was like, it's okay, like I'll just finish it, like I just want to finish it because it's so good, like otherwise. And then I think I was just halfway done, and I was just like, this, like every time I read it, even if I'm not even like fully immersing myself or fully like digesting this words, like I feel guilty that I'm reading this, like like it was just so wrong, and so just like everything that the Lord isn't for. And yeah, I just feel like it's just not pleasing. And I remember this was like a few years ago, but like I just threw the book away, and I was like, ugh. It was like so hurt, like so painful, because it was just like, oh, I love like the characters and you know all this stuff. But I really think it's just not good at all. Sorry, that was the longest rant ever. But yeah, I get, like I will say, like if you are someone who loves like spice, or even just like reading, and you're just like, all the books have it, so I'm just gonna keep reading it. Like I will say, like it's so common now that in a way it makes sense that there are so many Christian women who do read it, because it's also not really talked about that much. But I'm like, we're here to tell you that it's not good and it's not fruitful and it's not honoring, and there's just so much better things you'd be doing with your time, so many better things you could be reading. And I feel like that is just a big factor in how the Lord wants us to stay righteous and to stay holy in Him, even though we like always sin and like repent. But I think that that's just something you don't even want to get caught up in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think that's awesome, everything you said. Sorry, I was looking up different verses specifically about it. Because I think a lot of times, like you said, we can kind of write off like, okay, this isn't like, I'm not engaging in something sexual, you know, or I'm not like looking at something. So you don't think like, oh, it's not wrong in that sense. Like you were saying, like, oh, you know, maybe somebody's saying to themselves, like, it's not porn because it's like, I'm not watching this or looking at this or whatever. But in scripture, there is a lot about, you know, like abstaining from sexual immorality or different things like that. But also, not just that, but sensuality. And so I feel like that just kind of covers a lot of it because it's like, yes, there's some that's sexual, but there's also a lot that's like, you know, sensual and whatever. And maybe you wouldn't say like, this is sexually immoral, like, you know, but it is like sensual. And so like in Romans 13, it says, let us behave properly as in the day, ... not in sexuality, sexual promiscuity, and sensuality. In Ephesians 4, it talks about people who have become callous and have given themselves up to sensuality, and that how that, you know, speaks to our callous hearts. And just, you know, there's so much more about that, but I totally agree. And, you know, I don't want to come at it either, and neither do you, but like from a condemning standpoint, because maybe you really don't know. Like maybe you are reading these things and everybody does it and you feel like, you know, everybody's reading it and it's not like I'm, you know, looking at something and whatever. But like you said, like we are here to say like, listen, these things just aren't pleasing to the Lord. I know too of like just, you know, different, I listen to different podcasts and they have like questions that they've received coming in where people are in marriages where they're reading these books and becoming dissatisfied in their marriage with their spouse, because even if it's just like the romantic part of it, it's like, oh, my spouse isn't doing these things. Like, and I think a lot of times too, we have to remember like these books are written like by women, like, you know, just different stuff. But, I think it can cause discontentment. It can cause like impure thoughts, just so many different things. So yeah, I would agree. Like, I don't think it is right for us to be reading those things, even if they are super duper popular, and they are really popular. I think because it feels like an outlet, especially for women, where it's like, okay, maybe I'm not looking at pornography, but like I'm doing this instead. And it feels lesser and more, you know, minor. And it's not like hurting anybody kind of idea, but like it actually can. And yeah, the Lord does not want us in things that are sexually immoral. He wants us to, you know, stay from things that are like embracing, yeah, or just like sensuality. And so I think it is important for us to do that. Is that to say, like in reading those things, that like sexual desires and things like that are wrong? Absolutely not. There's a time and a place for those things, but like outside of your marriage, like is not that place. And so diving into different books that are like laying out basically sex, things that are really spicy, is just not right. Yeah. And maybe that's a controversial take. I know, like, of not controversial, but like I do know of a lot of Christians who like tap into this. You know, we were talking about a couple things beforehand. But it's wrong. So yeah.
Yeah, I just don't. No, I just feel like it. I agree. It's just wrong, and I think you will probably feel some sense of conviction while you're reading it,
Or maybe you did it first.
or maybe you did it first, and I think you can remember it, but right, it's like there could be a point where it just becomes like numbing. And I think with books too, it's just hard because if it comes up once in a book, it's very likely to come up a good amount of times.
Yeah.
So I just think it's better to just stay away from those books as a whole.
Yeah. I think too, and this is jumping off of something you said, so I don't want to I don't think you said it today. A lot of times these books become movies and these scenes are portrayed in movies. And I think like people are like, oh, I can't watch this movie, or like, I can't believe they would have this scene in this movie. And I remember we were talking about this with a particular movie. And you were like, I don't know why people are so shocked, because this is how it was written in the book. And it's like, okay, if this is how like on a screen we're calling it something, then like it should be the same in written form. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No, I love it. I agree. I feel like with that particular book, it was just, like, it's so hard not to name it. It was just one everybody was like loved the book.
You probably guess it, but yeah.
Yeah, and it was like the movie came out and it was like, ah. And I remember like I watched the movie because I was like, all right, which might not have been the best thing to do, I'll say, like, but I watched it because I was like, and I remember just like, yeah, there were some like things I just like fast forward, whatever. But then I was thinking about it. I was like, this was all in the book. Like, this isn't anything different. And it was just very interesting to me because, there was just a lot of different mindsets.
You're like, y'all read it. Like,
y'all read it. Like, I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, so just to be very cautious with that. Like, and I think if you're in it and you're reading these books and you felt conviction at one point, the Lord is not upset with you personally. He just doesn't like I do think it is or can become a sin very easily. So I think just the Lord wants you to turn away from it, and he's ready to help you through it too.
Yeah, like that's beautiful. He's ready to help you through it.
Thank you. I do think it really is, like, if you love these types of books, it can become so quickly, even if not like an addiction, like it can become an idol in a sense too. So I think just to be really cautious with that. And again, the Lord is gracious, but he wants us to seek him and seek the way that he lived on earth. So.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's all of our questions for today. Thank you so much for submitting these questions. If you do have questions too, and maybe you're not on Instagram, if you are on Instagram, feel free to DM me or wait for the next question box that comes up. Or you can email me at megan@shelivespurposefully.com. But we also have a ton of questions that we were not able to answer today, so we will be answering those next couple episodes too. But yeah, that is our episode for today. Friends, thank you so much for listening to the She Lives Purposefully podcast. Kenz, thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Of course, I love being here.
All right, friends, live purposefully and live for Jesus. I love ya. See ya.